Hello, students of Wicca. Today we're gonna go over what witches do in some of the common practices. Witches could probably argue endlessly about theology and values, but mostly we don't bother. In many ways, we're united by what we do, our practices rather than our beliefs. For instance, we celebrate the changing of the seasons in the holy days we call Sabbats, and the cycles of the moon in celebrations called Sabbats. These are covered later on, but just for you to know that there are 8 Sabbats, not counting any we might invent for fun. Collectively, they are known as the Wheel of the Year. You can see a couple of examples in the screen. Witches think in circles and spirals whenever possible, rather than straight lines. For instance, we see time as both circular and a spiral, rather than linear. The Wheel of the Year is a circle because it keeps turning, coming back to the same point each year. And yet is also a spiral because we're not the same people we were last year. And the world is not the same place. Autumn is always autumn, yet no 2 autumns or fall are the same. Some witches begin their year at Samhain, pronounced either Samhain or Samhain. Others see Yule at the beginning of the year. It's rather like starting the day at midnight or dawn. There are good arguments to make for both of them. The 8 Sabbats occur every 6.5 weeks around the wheel. Witches also celebrate the phases of the moon. Almost all do ritual all the fun on the moon, and many celebrate other lunar phases too. We also do divination and spell work frequently, and keep animal friends close by. Talk to plants and much more that we will cover later. So, how many witches are there? No one can do a complete census, because many witches are deep in the broom closet and will never reveal their path to any pollster. Even the American Religious Identification Survey, or ARIS, done in 2008 by Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut, lumps pagans of all stripes, witches, generic pagans, druids, with Unitarian Universalists, New Agers, Scientologists, Centurions, and others in a category called New Religious Movements and Other Religions. Even with all that company, we, new religious types, only make up about 1.2% of the U.S. population, of fewer than 3 million folks, if the survey is accurate. Granted, witchcraft and Wicca seems to be growing rapidly, but at some fraction of 1.2% we're not exactly taking over the world. Which is all right, because that's never been our goal. We have no desire to convert the world to our path, because we believe that witchcraft is not for everyone. We have mentioned the American witch population, but should make clear that Wiccans and witches live in many countries. Great Britain is the birthplace of modern witchcraft, but our craft, Britain, also can be found through Western Europe and in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Smaller numbers are scattered around the world, including those serving in the military who are stationed overseas. So, what are witches? We are people who follow a spiritual path and a way of living that is inspired by the practices and worldview of our ancient ancestors. We keep close to nature. We celebrate the cycles of life and the seasons. We connect with the spirit in many forms. We perform divination and magic. And we learn, grow, and heal ourselves and others. This is the heart of witchcraft. I wanted to show you a picture of the 8 Sabbats and the appropriate times. They normally are agreed by all Wiccans or witches. We'll be talking about each one of them in particular and in specific. We'll also be talking about the 3 stages of womanhood and the cycles of the moon and how they relate to each other. I wanted to talk to you about the female factor in Wicca. Roughly 2 out of 3 witches are female. Perhaps women are drawn to the craft because, hey, the goddess is here and it's great to have a divine female role model. Actually, many of them. Perhaps we like the idea that we can be priestesses with as much respect as the men get in the male-dominated religions. On the other side, maybe some guys aren't sure what to do with the male deities. We also have them in the craft, for example, the horn god, the sun god, the warrior god energy, and so forth. This is quite a change from Jesus. Nobody knows why there are more female witches, but the male witches are happy and we women are glad that we have as many really great craft brothers as we do. Let's talk more about the seasons and the wheel of the year. Nature moves in cycles, in circles and spirals. Earth orbits the sun and the seasons flow from one to the next and repeat the cycle through millennia. We call it the wheel of the year, and for modern witches, it governs the rhythm of our lives. The wheel, as you can see, is a circle, coming back to the same seasons and Sabbats again and again. But it is also a spiral because it moves through time. At each year's spring, we are in an equivalent place, but not the same place. Also, when we reincarnate, we come back to Earth, but it is not the same world we left the time before. Likewise, the moon orbits, waxes, and wanes in her changing phases, and the tides rise and ebb. The lunar cycle is also part of our lives and our magic. And when we celebrate, we do it in circles, not lined up in rows or watching someone else have all the fun. Everyone in the cycle participates. We live and plan and think in circles and cycles rather than in lines. Most witches celebrate 8 major holidays or sabbats through the year, spaced roughly 6.5 weeks apart. 4 are called the lesser sabbats, 1 every 3 months at the solstices and equinoxes. The other 4 are the greatest sabbats, and they are in between the lesser sabbats. You can see how they're placed on the illustration. These are very ancient holidays. Not everyone in those days celebrated all 8, but most modern pagans do. The names are taken from the Irish language, but most have been around so long that they have more than one name. Soon I'll be doing a course in runes and tarot and how to read runes, and you will see that this wheel existed from the time of Celtics, the Celts or the Norse people, and they expressed the wheel of the year or sabbats with runes. As we were saying, the lesser sabbats are determined by the astronomical calculations of the solstices and equinoxes, and these vary from year to year. So here's a list with the approximate dates. Yule of midwinter, winter solstice, normally occurs between December 20th and 23rd. The Imbolc, or Oinmelk, Brigid Ives or Candlemas, somebody called Candlemas, exists on February 2nd. Ostara, or the Iostre, a spring equinox, occurs between March 20th to the 23rd. Beltane, May Eve, May Day, or Walpurgis, occurs on April 30th. Litha, Midsummer, Summer Solstice, occurs June 20th to the 23rd. Lughnasadh, Lunasa, Lughanasad, Lammas, or August Eve, occurs on August 1st. Mabon, Harvest Home Fall Equinox occurs September 20th to the 23rd. Samhain Hallows Eve, November Eve, occurs on October 31st. In practice, many covens hold their celebrations on the weekend nearest to the traditional date, so that members with weekly work schedules can attend. Samhain poses an interesting challenge because most modern witches celebrate it on the same day as Halloween, no matter what day of the week it falls in. Many non-pagans confuse the two, but Halloween has evolved into a modern secular children's holiday and is very different from the witches' Sabbat. Let's talk about some of the mythologies behind the Wheel of the Year in the next module. I'll see you then.